welcome back to Podcast on Fifth Ave. It's Jordan and Taylor, as always. Obviously, we haven't recorded in a couple weeks. Taylor was taking some much-needed time off, and you moved into a house, right?
I did, yeah. So I closed on house August 12th. I had a ton of PTO saved up, so I just used all that to settle into the house. That's why we haven't been recording. This is not my house. This dungeon I'm in, this is the back room at the office. I'll record at my house next week. But yeah, closed on house. Really happy about it. So
that's exciting.
Happy to be back here too. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited to be back, especially now that we're 2 weeks away from the start of Penguins training camp. It starts on September 22nd. Rookie camp starts next week. And you mentioned before we started recording that you've been kind of popping into the Cranberry complex, the Lemieux complex, and some guys are already in town. Who have you seen so far from out of the area who's migrated back?
Yeah, honestly, it's so many. I've stopped in a couple times, and it feels like every day there's like a new chunk of them. Jeff Petry's been here for a while. You know, 'cause he had to find a house with his wife, get settled in. He's been here a while. Ruido's been here a while. Kapanen's been here a while. But then this, I went on Wednesday morning, and Ty Hennis was back, the skills coach actually leading the sessions. Before it was kind of like the player, Jeff Carter was in that group too. They were just kind of leading themselves. They had a goalie today. Casey DeSmith was there. Mike Shiazin, the emergency backup, he was there too. So they had two goalies, but I mean, Evgeny Malkin was there, Brian Rust, Jake Gensel, Teddy Bluger. Teddy Bluger, by the way, long hair. I know when he was in Minnesota, you know, the Penguins followed him around, and you know, in the off season they did a fun video, and he had the long hair, and they were asking him about it, and he was like, "Well, yeah, but I'm going to cut it before the start of the season." But if he didn't get it cut at home before coming here, I don't think he's going to cut it. And long hair Teddy is just he's a little feral. He's a different breed. We're going to talk about that in like one of the other segments, but I mean, long hair Teddy. That's I'm a whole chunk of guys. Josh Archibald was there, Ryan Poehling, so a bunch of the new guys. Rickard Raquel, I think I mentioned. It's honestly like half the team.
That's so exciting, because obviously that means that we're getting closer and closer to the start of the hockey season. So looking at the training camp roster, there's a lot going on. Obviously, like this isn't what the team is going to look like. This is pretty expansive, but this is players. So it's not everybody we're going to see game in and game out, but there are some obviously names that we know we're going to see to start the season, like Kasperi Kapanen. He's going to be probably on the roster, and he's probably going to be in the lineup to start. Looking at obviously Teddy Bluger, like he's a big name. Potentially Drew O'Connor in that bottom six. He might find his way in. Who the heck knows? Taylor, what are you going to be keeping an eye on going into training camp? What are some storylines that have piqued your interest?
I think just number one, I think now just how the D is going to shake out, because that has been, you know, the position group where there has been the most change. Matheson going out, Marino going out. You have Ty Smith coming in, Petry coming in. You have Joseph ready to take that next step. They have 9 capable NHL defensemen, and we talked about this where, you know, they had 9 on the first day of on free agency, and Hextall's like, well, we're not going to go into camp with 9 defensemen, like, and then so they traded Matheson, they got Petry back, they traded Marino, got Ty Smith back. Doing the math, that's still 9 defensemen. And then after that, he's like, well, we might go into camp with 9 defensemen. So it's just going to be interesting to see those position battles. Of that group, Ty Smith, the only one except from waivers, he's never been in the AHL. So I don't know if, you know, it's as simple as saying, well, you send him down, that still leaves with 8. P.O. Joseph might go down. He would have to go on waivers. So just going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. And then just like what pairings of the you know, 6 regulars. So, and then just the depth options at forward too, because, you know, you have Ryan Poehling coming in. They signed Archibald. I don't know why. the one signing I think that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
That definitely doesn't.
I guess he is a guy who can sit out. He can be an extra. He doesn't have to be one of the main 12. What we saw that last year when he missed all last regular season, most of it because he's unvaccinated, and then he did come in the playoffs. So he can sit out and come in and I guess be some degree of effective. But yeah, again, Drew O'Connor, there might be room for him, might not. Drew O'Connor is exempt from waivers, so it's like, how good does Drew O'Connor have to be to beat out someone like Archibald Ayling, who wouldn't need waivers? So yeah, just a lot of position battles to be won. Interested to talk to some guys like Zucker, see just where he's at health wise. Like, I know he's like 100%, but it's like, what was the recovery process like?
And what is his 100%? Because it feels like he gets hurt a lot. He's struggled with so many different injuries over the course of his time with the Penguins alone. Like, it'll look like he's about to go on a tear, and then he'll get injured. So it's like, is that just bad luck? Is that just kind of how he's wired? Like, 100% for him might be different than it is for other guys. You just never know with that kind of stuff.
And Jeff Carter, I'd love to talk to Jeff Carter in camp, just kind of be like, what happened last year? Because the drop off for him, compared to the team, it was really steep. And he is obviously older. Last season was one of, that was the first time he actually played a full, 80-something game season in a couple of years, just because of COVID. And I remember I asked him on cleanout day, given, it has been a couple of years, did this year feel different for you? Like, did you feel the effect of playing? Was that difficult? Trying to figure out kind of what happened to him. And he did say that he did talk about it being a challenge. It didn't sound like he was making excuses, but it did seem like something he was dealing with, fatigue.
Sure. At his age, that would make sense.
Yeah, just a lot. And this is going to be the first time we're going to get to talk to Malkin since he signed. So just kind of to figure out how that went, because if you remember, it came out, okay, he's going to test free agency, and then a day went by and he signed. What kind of involvement did Crosby or Letang, those kinds of guys have? I'd love to talk to Malkin and just about that whole process.
Yeah. There are a lot of things that I think will be of interest to pay attention to. I personally am wondering how Kasperi Kapanen is going to look in camp and then going into the regular season, because it felt like when he came to the team, he and Malkin started to develop some legitimate chemistry, and then he just kind of dropped off. And last year he really didn't look good at all, with the exception of maybe that streak, that very brief streak of games that included a hat trick. I think it was against Dallas. I'm just curious what kind of game we're going to see from him, because we don't really even know what kind of a player he is. Is he the player that we saw when he was with Malkin? Is that kind of his ceiling, where he can get out of his head and handle the puck well and actually score some goals and create chances? Or is he the guy who overthinks everything and stops skating into the zone to try to, whatever the heck he was doing? Like, I'm really curious how he's going to respond, because when he talked at the end of last season, he acknowledged that he didn't play up to his potential and he was disappointed with his season. So what's his response going to be? I'm going to be really curious to see how camp goes for him and what that looks like. And I'm also very curious what the bottom six is going to look like, because they didn't really do a whole lot, with the exception of signing a couple guys. They didn't tamper with the bottom six at all, because Hextall said kind of, we feel like we have the depth that we need to be competitive. And I don't know. As soon as one guy goes down in the top 6 and you have to start reshuffling, where do you go from there? So I'm really curious to see how those two storylines kind of play out, because there are a lot of guys like Archibald, and why am I blanking on his name?
Kajula, Paling, Connor
Paling, that's it.
Zahorna,
Thank you.
guys
Mhm.
who have played in the NHL. But then there's also guys like I'm interested in seeing like Nylander, who hasn't played in
Mhm.
the NHL in a little bit here. Poulan, obviously still looking for his debut. Pustonen, he had the one
Yeah.
thing. I don't think any of those guys are guys who are going to make the team out of camp, just given the current options. And because you can probably sneak Nylander down on waivers, Poulan, Pustonen don't need waivers yet. But all those are the 3 forwards who I'd put down like mid-season call-ups, like the first
Yeah.
probably 4 guys up. So just interesting to see how they fit in. I mean,
Mhm.
Nylander, he hasn't been to a training camp at all yet. He hasn't worked with Sullivan. So
Yeah.
just seeing how that shakes out. Jake Gensel's a dad. Gotta talk to Jake Gensel. Gotta
That's
talk to him
right.
about,
He is a dad.
yeah, he's gonna have dad strength.
Yeah.
Kapanen is a cat dad. Have you been seeing that on Instagram?
I saw that. How
There's
this
like,
he just found a cat.
yeah, no,
Like,
just like a
or the
neighborhood.
cat found him.
Yeah, the neighborhood cat adopted him and is just like living in his house now. So, um, is that what he needs to get his swagger back? Yeah,
Possible. It's possible. Maybe that was what the missing piece for him. He needed to have something to nurture,
yeah.
and
Dad strength is a real thing. I don't know about cat dad strength, but we're gonna find out.
he can try to summon it, I guess. But yeah, we're 2 weeks away from the start of training camp. We're getting so close to the preseason and the regular season. Lots to watch, lots to be excited about. I can't wait. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. We are back. A handful of the Penguins participated in the Beauty League over the course of the summer. It wrapped up a couple weeks ago, and Taylor kind of started talking about Teddy and how his long hair made him feisty. But what can you tell us about the Beauty League in general and how that went for the Pens who participated?
Yeah, so for those who don't know, it's just an off-season league based in Minnesota. We're seeing a lot of these pop up everywhere. There's like a New Jersey one. Drew O'Connor played in that a little bit. There's a Montreal one. I think there's like usually a Chicago one. But the Beauty League is the most marketed of these summer leagues. It's been around I'm gonna say something like 7 years now. But it's just like there's not a lot of defense, but it's mostly NHLers, some college guys, junior guys, and just kind of, I guess, maybe low effort until the playoffs kick in. It's mostly like a charity thing, but anyway. So a lot of Penguins players in it. Jason Zucker played in it, didn't get hurt, great. Jake
Woo!
Gensel played in it. Um, Teddy Bluger, Ryan Paling, Mitch Ranke, who's a Wilkes-Barre guy. There's a couple of others. I'm sure I'm forgetting. But there are a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Zucker and Mitch Ranke, their team won the championship. Great for them. Uh,
Woo!
and Jake Gensel he led the league in scoring from the beginning. Like I think he had like 9 points in his first
Oh my
5 games,
God.
something like that. And he only missed what some guys come in and out. They don't play every game. Jake Gensel, he only missed one game, and I'm assuming it was for the birth of his child. But he played 8 games. He had 37 points, 19 goals, 18 assists. So he led
Monster.
the regular season in scoring. He was not named league MVP though. League MVP went to Teddy Bluger. No,
Teddy.
Teddy Bluger was up there in regular season scoring. He played most games too. He did lead the postseason in scoring. Teddy Bluger, he had 4 goals, 5 assists in 2 games. But if you look at the little post, the Beauty League made,
Mm-hmm.
announcing like the winners, like the all beauty rookie, the all-star team.
Yeah.
For the league MVP, there's a little, asterisk next to Bluger's name, and under it says "got in a fight." Like that's why he's league MVP. the Beauty League has been around for how many, several years. He got in the only fight in league history, and this wasn't like a goofing off for the fans. Like, this was a legitimate fight, and so it was the first game of the playoffs. Vinny Lettieri was the guy he fought. I can't remember which team he was on. I think he was on Anaheim last season. But yeah, so Teddy's team was blowing out Lettieri's team. I think the final score ended up being 12-3. 4 of those goals were Teddy's, and he had, I
Oh
think,
my
2 or
God.
3 assists too. So, and 2 of Teddy's goals came kind of like at the end, very close together. So the game is way more than over. It's a fun league. Teddy's running up the score. I think that's totally fine to do. It's a fun league. The fans come, they want to see goals.
Yeah.
Vinny Lettieri took exception to Teddy Blueger skilling it up in the Beauty League. Kind of trailed him down the ice, running his mouth at Teddy, and then they drop the gloves, and it's a legitimate fight. They're throwing haymakers. They come up with it. Lettieri's face is covered in blood. Like, Teddy was not holding back, and
Oh
Teddy's
my God.
laughing at it. No suspensions in the Beauty League. Teddy, that he came back for the next game, the championship game, lost to Jason Zucker's team. But is this just long haired Teddy, like, getting 7 points in a game? And I called him feral in the last
you did.
fight. Is that just long? He grows his hair out and suddenly he doesn't know how to act.
Yeah, it's just like it activates this like animalistic side of him that just cannot be stopped, whether it's scoring or fighting.
Yeah, I mean, and I know that some fans saw that and they weren't happy about it. Like, Teddy, like, he could have gotten hurt. So yeah, it's not something you want to see.
Yeah.
And I saw some fans are saying, like, at what point do you ban players from playing in these leagues? And it's like, well, fights aren't exactly common, given that this was the only one in the history of the league. And players, pretty much every player plays in some kind of organized pickup league like this. The Beauty League just happens to be marketed more, and they try to make it seem like a legitimate league, but it's not any different than Crosby, McKinnon, and Marchand playing together in Nova Scotia. Pittsburgh has a league. They called it, I think, the GOAT League. Trocheck was in it, a couple of other Pittsburgh natives. So something like this happens everywhere. Guys get together, play pickup, and the effort level is pretty much the same across the board. No one's like trying that hard. No one's gonna hurt themselves. The goalies aren't like NHL, even like AHL goalies really don't play in these things. I think like even the Beauty League, which is mostly NHLers, they're pulling guys like out of like D3 college, I think. I know Louis Domingue played in the Montreal League. I don't know why he would have done that to himself, but
oh my God, Louis.
But I don't think it's something we got to be concerned about in the future. Yeah, the guys.
Yeah, they know. Yeah, like their limits and what makes sense and what doesn't. The fight is interesting, but other than that, because you said it's the first fight in the history of that league, like,
and he was not the
happening.
Aggressor. Like, Teddy is not for a fight.
He didn't seek it out.
No, he got sought out because he scored 7 points.
Was that good? Yeah.
And Vinny Lettieri, big L to not initiate the fight, but then to lose as bad as he did, come up bloody. I think I'll think twice about that, but Teddy, he's fine.
Nice try, dude.
He's fine.
That's good.
He's a cranberry. I see him. His hair's still long, like I said.
Good. Keep that long hair. Keep those vibes, Teddy. Yeah. Hold on to that. In other news, though, something not fine. Kirill Tankov got hurt. Was it this past Monday?
Yeah. So Kirill Tankov, he was the Penguins' 7th round pick in 2021. He's one of their 2 Russian prospects. And 7th rounder, you might, see that and be like, oh, nothing to, he's one of their most interesting prospects. For sure. He's a forward. He can play center wing. He only played center last year. He's my favorite prospect to watch. Very skilled. He's big. He can skate. He needs to work on his like defensive game. And I think maybe like utilizing his teammates more. He likes doing a lot on his own. I know the Penguins are very high on him and how skilled he is. So he hasn't played in the KHL yet. He's in the VHL. That's the second league. Monday was his team's first game of the season. They live stream all their games, that team. So I tuned in.
Okay.
It's like a YouTube, so it's like there's like 130 people watching this game. One of them's me. The other one's Danny, Kyrie, our other Penguins writer. Like, me, Danny, a bunch of Russians. Like I saw it and I was like, oh, Tankov's playing. Sent him the link. So we're already.
Oh my God! Incredible.
2 shifts into the second period. He's in a race for the puck. It looks like maybe he started to lose his balance, but he probably could have saved it. But he also got hit from behind at the same time. He was headfirst into the boards. Awful. It was scary because he was down for a couple minutes. He wasn't moving. They bring the stretcher out. There was a report out of Russia afterward that he fractured his C5 vertebrae in his neck. And he did undergo surgery on Tuesday, neck surgery. So he's probably done for the year, which is just awful. I mean,
that is awful.
Yeah, you hope, no long-term effects. His team did say no timetable or anything like that. It's way too early, but
yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, just awful to see. You hope he'll be okay. Yeah, again, he is one of their, I think, better forward prospects as far as like a ceiling goes. But yeah, just you have to really feel for him because it seemed like he was really poised to take a big step this year over in Russia. Maybe see some KHL time. But yeah, just terrible. Seems like a great kid too. Very, very funny on Twitter. He's always smiling, but yeah, it was really scary. The player that hit him only got a 3-game suspension, which is awful. I could not tell you a whole lot about how the Russian second league disciplinary system works, but I think 3 games for you could have. I mean, he broke a bone in his neck. Like it could have.
Yeah, it could have killed him.
Super serious. It could have been a whole lot worse. Yeah. You're like he wasn't paralyzed, and that kid only gets 3 games. Artyom Maltsev, that's the guy that hit him. You're on our list now.
We're coming for you.
Oh my God. Yeah, you hope heals quickly. He's able to play again next season. So because he's Russian, if you draft a player out of like college, juniors, whatever, there's like it's different depending on where you get them from, how long you have their rights for before you have to sign them.
Okay.
And if it gets to a certain point they're not signed, they become a free agent. When it's at Europe, it depends on what the NHL's agreement is with the hockey governing body in that country. So the NHL and the Ice Hockey Federation of Russia have no formal agreement. They never have. That's not anything new. So if you draft a player from Russia, you have their rights forever until you use them. Jeez. So there's no rush to sign him, bring him over. He can take all the time he needs over there. He's going to be a Penguin forever until they move him. Like Alex Pacioretty, the goalie who played a game for them in 2010. He's still technically Penguins property. He's 32 years old. He last played in like the second league in like 2020, but he's still theirs. So yeah, they have Tankov. He can take all the time he needs. But yeah, a really, really fun prospect. The Penguins are very high on him, especially for a 7th rounder. You hope he'll be okay.
Yeah, and yeah, you're definitely hoping for a speedy recovery there. Also glad Teddy is okay. And
that there wasn't anything more serious there. It was just a fight. And fights happen all the time in the NHL. Everybody calm down.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's going to be fine. All right, let's take one more break. We'll be right back. We're back, and as we approach the regular season, we're also getting closer to finding answers for what the Penguins' third jersey is going to be this year. And a couple weeks ago, Fanatics leaked a t-shirt, not a jersey, a t-shirt with the robo-Penguin on it, which has been a highly requested logo, bringing that back for a third jersey. And when Mario was majority owner, never happened. There's speculation because he didn't like it, superstitions, all that stuff, bad juju. But it's looking like there's a much higher likelihood now that we could see in some form, whether it's just full black, the gradient, full white, the robo pigeon show up on a jersey. And people are split on how they feel about it. There are people who are losing their minds because they can't wait, and there are people who are losing their minds because they hope it never happens. And it's just I've never seen so many people conflicted over a graphic. But I'm in the camp of, I really hope that they bring back that logo, because it's nostalgic and it's cool, and they've basically cycled through everything else. So what is there to use?
Yeah,
right?
I think it's definitely a generational thing. I think if you're a little bit older than us and you can remember 1993, so they win 2 cups back to back, and then they change the logo, and then they lose. I can understand why, if you were old enough to remember that, process that, why that logo would definitely have bad associations for you. But I think if you're younger, first of all, there's a whole chunk of the fan base that were not alive when they're using this, or not a fan, they don't remember it, and then it's just a cool logo to them. But I think if you're our age and you have memory of the later years, you don't associate it with 93. You might Yager, Straka, Cas. When I see it, I think about Cas, the gradient. I think of Kasperitis' goal. So they never won anything in those jerseys. But I think I don't know. Some fans, there's a nostalgia for those kinds of moments. I just think it's a cool logo. I don't know. I'm not superstitious. I'm a little stitious. But I don't think there's bad juju with the logo. I just think it's a cool logo. I can understand if Mario doesn't like it, because he lived
it. Yeah, he actually was part of those teams. Yeah.
But yeah, the reason that we're talking about it, you said Fanatics, they leaked. It was several T-shirts for different teams. Some of them old logos, and we know the reverse retro concept is making a return this year. So that doesn't mean it's a given. I don't know if people remember, the Penguins team store used to sell stuff with that logo 10 years ago. I don't know if they still have old player jerseys, but used to be able to get I'm sure they still sell Lemieux with whatever, but it was Kehoe, and it's I can't remember who would have been, but in different eras. I think I have an Apps Junior shirt from forever ago, but so different eras, and so they were selling pigeon logo stuff like that before. Now, I think we talked about this at the time in July, but I did talk to Kevin Acklin, the president of business operations back then, and in July, and I asked about I called it the robo-Penguin. He was like, "Oh, the pigeon," and I'm like, "Yeah, the pigeon." He said that lovingly, not a term of endearment, calling it the pigeon. Not he's not anti-pigeon, but if we're ever going to see it make a return. And he did say, they still have all the rights to it. Never say never. He said nothing was imminent. but so I don't think they had like the third jerseys done yet at the time. He did acknowledge how polarizing it is with the fan base because, like we've talked about, depending on I think like how old you are, you either really love it or you really hate it. No one's like apathetic towards the pigeon. You're on one
No.
side or the other.
It's wild.
So yeah, it's. I don't know if this has anything to do with like Mary is still part owner, but he's not majority owner. I don't know if this is why, because when they brought back the Snoop Dogg jerseys, that's supposed to have the pigeon on the shoulder, and so when they brought that back and they had the normal skating penguin, I was like, if they didn't put the pigeon on it now, we're never gonna see it. But it seems like never say never.
We might be getting there. And like you said, it's not a given. Just because they released a shirt with the Robo Pigeon on it doesn't mean that we're going to see a reverse retro jersey, but they're just the trends in the past with Fanatics releasing t-shirts leading up to jersey reveals. It isn't out.
It's probably out.
It's not ridiculous to guess that could be the jersey. And
it's not the Winter Classic, though. We know that. We talked about it on an older episode. It might have been the last episode before we went on break, I think it was. The Winter Classic, I did ask Kevin Acklin about that. He said they're going pre-Penguins. So no blue, no baby blue, not the logo with the scarf. This is not a Penguins jersey logo that they're drawing inspiration from, and we talked about it. The only thing that makes sense is the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pittsburgh's first NHL team that played from 1925 to 1930. So that's one of them certain is what the Winter Classic is. It just makes too much sense. The Pirates played their first ever game in Boston, and if you go back and listen to that episode, we talked about the significance. The reason the Penguins can wear black and gold in the NHL now is because the Pirates did first. So that's what that's going to be. I think that's very cool. I think it's very cool that the pigeon probably being brought back to life. I know people are going to disagree with it, but I'm excited.
It's going to make a lot of people happy. So, and I think we're two of them. So it is what it is. If it is in fact the reverse retro, it's only going to be around for one season probably. So people will deal with it.
When I talked to Acklin, he did say that if it did ever come back, he didn't think that they'd go full like gradient, because that is very like late 90s, early 2000s. It fit that vibe. He's not sure if a jersey like that would fit, so it might be when they wore it as like the whites and it was more of like a plain it is a reverse retro, so something like that flipped to a different color. Remember they had the first reverse retros, it was the black Snoop Dogg but made white
so they may do like a black with the robo-Pen
or something like that, maybe gold would
that would be cool. I would dig that.
Yeah.
We sure will. And we'll probably find out in the next couple months what the reverse retro is, because they're going to want to start marketing that and selling it. Obviously, they're going to want people's money, and the people are going to want to see that in person. People like, one of the things that I've heard specifically repeated over and over again is that people want to see Sid in the Robo Pigeon jersey. So the sooner they announce that, the sooner they'll be able to sell.
People have been
games to get people
photoshopping that for years. I've seen so many photoshops of like current players in like Jeff Carter. I've been seeing a Jeff Carter one. I'm pretty sure I've seen like an Evan Rodriguez one who is not even on the team, but everyone is just so hyped about the pigeon. At least the internet, like Twitter, who it is mostly like younger people. I think that's why if that's where you're looking, you're seeing more positive pigeon than negative.
Well, here's hoping the pigeon comes back, and it's good for us to be back. Honestly, I'm glad that we're gonna sort of be gearing up for the regular season. There's a lot of exciting things happening in the next couple weeks. So make sure that you're subscribed to Podcast on Fifth Ave, wherever it is you listen, or on our YouTube channel, because we have stuff over there as well. We drop new episodes every Thursday. So we will see you again next week for another new episode.